It's Friday night, cucks this, which means that the hater's gonna be reviewing SmackDown for you. But let's just get it over with, because I think everyone for once can be in complete agreement that this was the worst episode of SmackDown possibly of all time. I don't even think anything comes close. I was not entertained by anything that happened in this episode. And I think also that this episode pretty much highlights all of the problems that wrestling has today. So let's get to it. And of course we gonna do it. And how we gonna do it? Segment by segment. Segment 1, motherfucks. We start off with a Hulk Hogan tribute. It was trash. I hated the tribute in its entirety. First of all, Triple H comes out and says some platitudes. Fine, it is what it is. I don't expect Triple H to come out here and deliver a fucking, Barack Obama level speech or anything like that. He's Triple H, he's gonna do his thing. But the part that I hated was like the package that they put together for Hulk Hogan. It wasn't even a tribute. Like, remember the Eddie Guerrero tribute package, which was like scenes from Eddie Guerrero and his career, scenes that like embody what Eddie Guerrero was inside and outside the ring. And in the background, all you heard was Johnny Cash's song. I forget what it's called, like the famous one, the one from 9 Inch Nails. Hurt. Yeah. And, in this one instead, it was literally Triple H just narrating a documentary style. You could call it a tribute, I guess, but it was just a documentary of Hulk Hogan. He's like, first Hulk did this, then Hulk did that, and then Hulk is dead. That's basically it. It was so bad. I hated every second of it. I don't need you to tell me who Hulk Hogan is. Hulk Hogan is the absolute number one wrestler of all time overall. It's not even close. People, if you don't know Hulk Hogan, you're not going to learn anything here. And Triple H is like, then he wrestled Andre the Giant. It's like, who gives a shit? That is not important to the fact that he's dead. The package should have just been Hulk Hogan doing cool shit and either play like a song or, usually in this case, I would say definitely play a song, but, you could just play like Real American and that's it, and just show like Hulk Hogan having glorious moments. Instead, for some reason, this was a documentary narrated by Triple H. I fucking hated it with a passion. After this, Logan Paul comes out to the ring, and so does Jelly Roll. Like, Logan Paul calls him out. Logan Paul's doing a segment of like Impulsive TV, which is his new talk show on SmackDown. Jelly Roll comes out, and I will give props where props are due. You know what I mean? Jelly Roll is excellent on the mic. Considering that he's not a wrestler, he's an entertainer, so he doesn't have like the entertainer, charisma. Like, he has the ability to like riff, and he has the ability to just like talk shit. But what I didn't like were two things. Number one, I mean, insofar as Jelly Roll's promos go, because insofar as the segment goes, there's way more than two things that I didn't like. But basically, Jelly Roll comes out, and he starts making some claims that, quite frankly, are straight up absurd and idiotic. He says, like, Logan, all you do is act like an asshole, right? Which is obviously not true, because he also wrestles and does boxing and does other things. But whatever, fine, right? And he's like, and all you've inspired is other asshole kids to do asshole things. Whoa. Hold on a second, motherfucker. You know what I mean? Wait a second. There's kids out there that enjoy going on TikTok and doing these things, and quite frankly, the hater fucking hates that shit. But I'm not going to sit around and call them assholes, right? Jelly Roll literally came out and said, you've inspired asshole kids, right? He just called a bunch of children assholes, right? Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm butthurt about it, because I'm not. I could give a rat's ass. But it's something that is unbecoming of a face, That's all the hater cares about, is, does this make sense? Is it consistent with the logic of the character and the situation around the character? In this situation, Jelly Roll is the face. Logan Paul brings up the fact that he was a criminal and he was convicted. I think Jelly Roll went to prison, not jail. He went to prison for robbing people and selling drugs before he made it big. And I actually saw an interview where he was like, I hope these people can forgive me. Now go fuck yourself. That doesn't absolve you of shit. You know what I mean? You gotta go make amends, motherfucker. It's one thing to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. You can also make mistakes with the law. The hater has done that too. However, I will say this. I never hurt anybody, And like anybody that I've hurt physically or emotionally or anything like that, it's been by accident. Like, I haven't wanted to do this, right? I haven't done it to get money. I haven't stolen anything in my fucking life. So Jelly Roll, he has, and I'm not saying that like he's irredeemable, people change. No doubt about it. I ain't hating, but the fact is that he's the criminal, right? If there's anybody to look to and say, wait a second, which one of these guys is overly bad, right? This guy or this guy, right? If you had to pick one, the problem is that America is so broken, right? And people have completely abandoned all forms of critical thinking, right? Especially in these last 6-7 years, right? Right before COVID until now, there's basically zero critical thinking left. And basically, the crux of Jelly Roll's promo is just this invented story that Jelly Roll has created, right? This is not part of his character or Logan's character. And he says, Logan, you're just a silver-spooned rich kid. I don't think he is. I mean, maybe he grew up middle class or upper middle class, but basically Jelly Roll went with all these upper middle class stereotypes against him, right? He's like, you used to pick on poor kids. Says who? You know what I mean? He just invented this shit. This is the America we live in now, motherfuckers. I know this is just a silly wrestling promo, but the facts are the facts. The reality is, if people are being honest, and I said this a year and a half ago, the fact of the matter is, if you look at Logan Paul and Jelly Roll, and you ask yourself, which one of these guys is a loser, right? The answer, anyone that's honest, is going to say Jelly Roll. He's a fucking fat bastard who is a former criminal with face tattoos who can barely move around. Whereas Logan Paul is somewhat of a clean-cut, appearance-wise at least, jacked guy, right? Who has had success, whether you hate him or like him, success in everything he's tried, right? It's as simple as that. So if there's anybody here that should be the face, it's Logan Paul. Now I understand that Logan Paul is the heel, and I ain't mad at it, you know what I mean? But it just pissed me off a little bit. I'm gonna be completely honest. It pissed me off a little bit because Jelly Roll he wants to justify the fact that he doesn't like Logan Paul, which is easy. You can just be like, hey, you attacked me a few weeks ago, or you cheap shot at my friend Randy Orton, right? But the way that Jelly Roll presented it is that he's the hero in this story, right? That because in his fantasy, and and this is a thing that happens a lot nowadays, people just invent fantasies, right? Have you ever been on YouTube or, any other social media, and you go into the comments, and people are like, this must mean this, People just invent fantasies, they play them up in their heads, because quite frankly, in America, you guys, I love Americans, but American men, really, and this applies to all American men as far as I'm concerned. I'm not impressed by American men in any capacity in this day and age, especially Gen Z and stuff, you know what I mean? Obviously not everyone, right? But a lot of people think it's a white people problem, or an immigrant problem, or a black people problem. No, it's pretty much categorically almost every American man who lives in fantasy land. The reality is, in America, and the hater's been in America for almost 30 years now, and I know that in America, people never tell you, shut the fuck up, right? And that's something that in other countries, you hear a lot, where people tell you, look, you ain't that special, kid. All this bitching and moaning that you're doing, it's unbecoming of a man. But in America, this is not a thing that people get told anymore. And everyone just bitches and moans. I'll give you a great example. The hater has several very close friends who are Hispanic, right? The vast majority of them come around and they say things like, oh yeah, you don't know how good American kids have it. Hispanic kids Hispanic parents beat their kids. They say this like it's something to be proud of, right? And I'm like, okay, great. What is that? What is your point, right? Did this make you tougher? Did it make you more obedient? Because you're fucking annoying, right? You're the same guy that you would be if the parents didn't beat you. They didn't do a good job disciplining you, right? You know what I mean? And in America, there is no disciplining at all. People just do whatever the fuck they want. Nobody gets told, hey man, you're being an inconvenience to everybody else. You know what I mean? Hey man, nobody, just think about it. Think about how it is in America with mental health, and I know that it's serious for some people, but nobody ever talks about the fact that the rest of us who don't have mental health issues have to tolerate everyone with mental health issues and the way that they operate, right? It's one thing, I get it. I have no choice. If someone that I know has mental health issues, I'm not gonna hate on them. You know what I mean? Hey, it sucks, bro. You're in a situation that I wouldn't want to be in, right? But please be cognizant of the fact, don't milk it, basically, right? Don't go around being like, oh, my mental health, shut the fuck up, you know what I mean? Grow a fucking backbone. In America, nobody has that. That's why everyone's fucking sad all the time. Oh, everyone's depressed. Yeah, go outside for a walk, motherfucker, and deal with it. Kiss my ass while you're at it, motherfuckers. So anyways, I didn't enjoy this at all for that reason, but Jelly Roll is good on the mic, like I said, right? Basically, Jelly Roll just invented a scenario where he's the victim, right? He's the victim of society. You're a fat bastard with face tattoos. Take some accountability. You know what I mean? That's the thing. Jelly Roll has that song I'm not okay. Be okay, motherfucker. Be okay. Grow up. The pressures of life got to me. The only way I could get through is to express myself through face tattoos. See what I just did there? I did what Jelly Roll did. I just invented a scenario. Why the fuck not? Let's go with that, cuts. After this, Drew McIntyre and Randy Orton come out, and they look like real men. Jelly Roll doesn't. Logan Paul does. He's like a sizable human being. Then Jelly Roll and Logan Paul brawl. Randy and Drew do as well, but the focus is on Jelly Roll and fucking Logan Paul, right? And the way that it goes down is basically Jelly Roll can barely move around. And I noticed that he does not know how to throw a punch properly. Like, this guy would never win a fight against anyone who's done even like 3 weeks of boxing, right? There's no chance. Like, he's much bigger than me, obviously, because he's like 700 pounds. But I'm pretty confident that I would destroy Jelly Roll in under 1 minute. I would just outbox him, punch him in the face a few times. That'd be the end of that, right? And the reason I'm saying this is for one reason and one reason only. He doesn't know how to throw a punch, so he's unbelievable. And two, if he robbed people, he definitely didn't do it like hand to hand. He didn't even have the integrity to do that. Probably used weapons like a pussy. But anyway, it's neither here nor there. Then he Irish whips Logan Paul, who's pretty much carrying the segment, and Logan Paul just runs into him a couple of times and falls to the ground. And at one point, basically, like, Jelly Roll just stands there. Logan runs into him and falls down as Jelly Roll does the motions for like a shoulder block. And Joe Tessitore is like, shoulder tackle by Jelly Roll. What do you mean shoulders? He didn't even move. It was just stupid. Then eventually, Logan Paul black hole slams himself off of Jelly Roll, and that's the end of that. This is going to happen at WrestleMania. I mean, at SummerSlam, guys. There's nothing you can do about it. It was a trash segment. After this, it's time for Roxanne versus Alexa. Alexa comes out with Charlotte. Charlotte is dressed as a cheerleader, which I thought was nice, right? It's playing up to the whole like situation with him. It's not great, but she looked good, and she had the pom-poms, which I thought was a nice touch. You know what I mean? Why the fuck not? Like, if she's gonna be a reluctant cheerleader, might as well have the pom-poms, right? Roxanne versus Alexa is just a match that nobody wants to see ever, And the reality is that Alexa and Charlotte, when compared apples to apples to Roxanne and Raquel, they're the same exact team, right? It's just one small girl and one big girl. That's basically it. They're both reluctant tag teams. It's the exact same thing. Now, is there anything wrong with that? Not particularly. You're allowed to have the same team more than once, but why not play up to it, right? Why not make it part of the story? The story here is just completely unilateral. It's a one-sided story. The storyline of this match is we have the tag team champions, and then we have the challengers who don't get along, right? Why not play up on both sides and make it like, make the question basically be, well, let's see who's going to be better at getting along when the time comes at SummerSlam, right? They didn't even consider this, which I thought was completely natural to think about, right? The match ends as Raquel Rodriguez is attempting to powerbomb Charlotte on the outside. Not really, she just has her in the powerbomb position. Alexa then does the twisted bliss on the outside, which is pretty neat. I think she like buzzed her nose. She had blood in the next segment, and she like touched her nose before. So I don't know if she did or if it's fake, but nevertheless, she does the twisted bliss to the outside, which is pretty cool because it's a relatively dangerous move, I feel like, and wipes out Raquel Gonzalez, right? Raquel Rodriguez, whatever the fuck her name is this week. She goes back into the ring, and then Roxanne just rolls her up, grabs the ropes, right? I'm sick and tired of like the roll-up wins. Once in a while, it's fine, but I'd like to see a finishing move here and there, motherfucks. So that happens. It doesn't really lead to anything because the match has already been made. And the fact is, because the match has already been made, nobody cares about any of this, right? Who gives a shit if Roxanne beats Alexa or if Alexa beats Roxanne? Why would anyone care? It doesn't matter. It's completely meaningless. There's matches that I say are meaningless that might have some artificial meaning, but this one is legit meaningless. It doesn't matter. It'd be like one thing if it's like, I don't know, winner chooses stipulation, right? That'd be nice, but it wasn't. It was just a match as far as I could tell. So with that being said, it's like nothing would change if Alexa Bliss wins. As a matter of fact, both of these broads, like in kayfabe, should say, I don't want to compete. Why would I compete? We're going to wrestle each other in like a week, basically, at SummerSlam for the titles. Why are we doing this? It doesn't make any sense. Like, who would book this match? It would be like if, for example, like let's say next year the Super Bowl is, I don't know, let's do some wishful thinking. The Commanders versus, I don't know, fucking hell, I don't know, the Raiders, right? Whatever, I just threw a team out, right? So like, and this is the Super Bowl, and it's Super Bowl, Sunday, and before the game, they're like, you know what? We're going to have these teams play a soccer game first. Right? You'd be like, why? Who gives a flying fuck? They're football teams, right? Like, just have them play the Super Bowl. I don't give a shit who's better at soccer, right? Just like in this case, they're tag teams. I don't give a shit if like Devon is better than Matt Hardy. I don't care. The question is, are the Dudleys better than the Hardys? You know, because that's the whole point of tag team wrestling. Anyways, moving on, motherfucks. We get to a squash match. Jade Cargill squashes Chelsea Green. And then gets attacked afterwards, but then Tiffy saves her ass. They have like a tense moment with the title. Now, here's my analysis of this. Number one, I think Jade should beat Tiffany Stratton for a number of reasons. Reason number one, Tiffany Stratton's run is pretty much complete, right? She had it before WrestleMania. She defended it at WrestleMania. And quite frankly, nobody gives a shit about her being champion. Now, the other element of this segment is Chelsea Green. Now, I understand Chelsea Green was the former U.S. champion, or like 2 U.S. champions ago, and all that jazz. But the fact is, she is a jobber, and I have no aspirations to suggest that she's not gonna be a jobber for the at least foreseeable future, right? She's just a jobber, and that's perfectly fine, you know? Like, I like Chelsea Green, but I don't think she's like this undeniable talent like Jade Cargill used to be. And that's the part that pisses me off the most, right? I prefer Chelsea Green at this point, but objectively, I think Jade Cargill is better, right? So, with that being said, the only question I had is, why is this match happening at all? Why didn't this match happen like the first week after Jade Cargill debuted, right? Like, she debuts at the Rumble. The next day on Raw, or whatever, if you want to wait for SmackDown, do it on SmackDown. Jade Cargill comes out, challenges Chelsea Green, and squashes her. We had to wait several years for Jade Cargill to be on this run, right? Which is fine, I get it. Sometimes people think, oh, they need to wait. But it's like, why? She didn't get any better. She can't cut a promo to save her life, Jade Cargill, right? She didn't achieve anything during this time. I mean, she was tag team champions, but nobody gave a flying fuck. So it's like, why didn't you just do this 2 or 3 years ago? You know, why are you wasting all our time, basically? But that's what they decided, and that's what we saw. I didn't like it as a result, motherfucks. Then we have a boring-ass Cody Rhodes promo. The entrance takes about 10 minutes. He says, "Thank you, Hogan," and the hater is quite frankly shocked that a "Thank you, Hogan," chant doesn't begin. Like, they'll do that chant for fucking like Bobby Fish. You know what I mean? "Thank you, Bobby." You know what I'm saying? They'll do it for anybody, but not for Hulk Hogan. So all those fans can kiss my ass. That's what I think about that. And then to be fair, I got bored of the Cody promo, so I fast forwarded that shit, motherfucks. You know, he started talking about how he's gonna commit violence on Cena, and then after I was finished fast forwarding, Testator was like, he wants the real version of Cena. So in other words, it's the same exact promo that he cut before WrestleMania, right? Cody Rhodes has no business cutting promos anymore. Like, he doesn't say anything new. And quite frankly, I know what some of you are thinking. Stone Cold didn't say anything new. The Rock didn't say anything new. Yeah, but The Rock was entertaining every single fucking time. I would never skip a Rock promo. In fact, 20 years later, I'll occasionally go on YouTube and find old promos by The Rock. Believe you me, motherfucks. In 20 years, no one's going to be looking back at this promo. This promo was a colossal waste of time. It's completely void of any meaning or any excitement. I hated it for the parts that I saw. To be fair, I didn't see it, but quite frankly, I don't give a shit. The first consideration is make me want to see it, right? Make me want to see it. And not just me, but everybody else. The fact is, Cody can't do that. He's not entertaining enough. You know? It's as simple as that. With The Rock, I'd fucking rewind that shit sometimes. Like, I'd tape Raw live, and I'd be like, oh, hold on, it's the commercial. Let me rewind and watch that promo again, because it was so fucking great. You know? This is back in the days of the VHS. Cuts this. We didn't have, like, YouTube back then up in this bitch. So, with Cody Rhodes, I'm like, I do the opposite. I'm like, let's fast forward this motherfucker off my TV. After this, they show what happened with Fatu and the MFTs, and then Fatu cuts a backstage promo. I will give props where props are due. Fatu understands it, unlike Cody, who has no personality whatsoever and zero catchphrases, except for, what do you want to talk about? Like, fucking stupid shit. Jacob Fatu is all catchphrases and no substance, you know? He says all gas, no brakes. I say all catchphrases, no substance. But, hey, it is what it is. He's able to get the catchphrases over, and that's all I can ask from him. You know what I mean? Like, I don't expect Jacob Fatu to become the next Bubba Ray Dudley on the mic, or to become the next Christian on the mic. And sure as shit, I don't expect to become the next Vince McMahon or The Rock on the mic, or even CM Punk. You know what I mean? I don't expect that from him. I mean, look at him. He looks fucking like, he looks retarded. But, you know, for what he is, which is just like flash in the pan type wrestler, that in 2 years max is going to be in the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, getting eliminated by fucking like Jasper Troy, you know, who will then get eliminated by like a returning Ricochet or something. Like, that's the career trajectory he's going to have. People think it's going to be this massive main eventer. It's never going to happen, motherfuckers. It's never going to happen. So, with that being said, He cuts a promo, he does his catchphrases, and then The Miz appears. This part I really enjoy. First of all, The Miz appears, and he's exactly the same size as Jacob Fatu. I would say that The Miz is a little bit taller, and he's definitely more well-defined. You know what I mean? I would say they're probably about the same weight. Jacob Fatu might be a little bit bigger because he's fat, right? But there's no indicia, in my opinion, that Jacob Fatu is tougher than The Miz. As a matter of fact, evidence says otherwise because The Miz used to be in the real world. And for those of you that are scratching your balls right now thinking, what does that have to do with anything? Go watch the challenge, motherfuckers. Go watch the challenge 2 seasons ago and watch a challenge 10 years ago and watch this dude named CT who would completely eat the entire MFTs, including Talatonga. You know what I mean? Miz had to go up against people like him. Miz is actually a tough guy, and this guy is a pretend tough guy. So anyways, Miz slaps him in the face, and he's completely justified in doing so. He says, look, motherfucker, you put me on the shelf, go fuck yourself. I'm from Cleveland. I don't give a flying fuck. Slap, right? Like a real man. Jacob Fatu says, I'll see you in the ring, basically, right? Right after this, the match starts. Fatu does his crap. He does his moves, and he's beating the shit out of Miz. MFTs come out, and then Miz uses his distraction to send Fatu to the post. Then we go to commercial. Fatu Hogan then gets introduced to us because he starts beating up everybody. He beats up all 4 of the MFTs and then beats Miz with the pop-up Samoan drop, which under no circumstance should be a finishing move. This is unacceptable. You know what I mean? I understand that the situation in the match calls for something like that, right? Because it's he's being surrounded by 4 people, so he doesn't have the time basically to go and do his honestly his relatively shitty moonsault. They're people when he does the moonsault, it's he's floating in air. Is it? He always lands on his knees and makes absolutely no contact, which is good because nobody gets hurt, but it looks like shit. So anyways, he does this to pop someone drop, pins the Miz. Then the MFTs come in and you're all right, now the beatdown's gonna happen, right? No, you'd be wrong, motherfucks, because Hogan Fatu is still too big and too strong to get rid of with 4 people. So he whoops all their asses once again. Right? It's this just looks comical at one point. There's that movie, I forget what it's called. It's a movie, it's a really old movie. It was old when I was young, you know what I mean? That's how old it is, motherfuckers. But it's a movie where these 3 little kids are ninjas and they beat up adults, right? It felt like that. It would be imagine if Taka Michinoku ekes out a win against S.A. Rios or something, right? And then the Ministry of Darkness, I know I'm missing up the timelines here because S.A. Rios was much later. Then the Ministry of Darkness, right? Or just let's say the Undertaker and the Acolytes, as well as Midian, right? They come in and Taka Michinoku beats them all. This is what it looked like because it was silly. Aside from Camacho, who I don't know, it seems to be getting smaller and smaller every time I see him. The 3 other guys are either the same size as Fatu or they're called Talatonga and they're massive motherfucks, right? And even JC Mateo, who is shorter, he just looks more believable. And then Jacob Fatu is using the same 3 moves he does to get rid of all these motherfucks. Then eventually gets clotheslined by Talatonga, who he didn't properly get rid of, I guess. And then they put on the beating to Jacob Fatu, and he gets Samoan spiked. Great. The segment was whatever. I don't have anything against the way that it played out, aside from the fact, and everything I just said, basically, aside from the fact that it's just unbelievable. It's just legit unbelievable for someone like Jacob Fatu to be presented this way. It's just silly. It's just stupid. There's no logic behind it at all. You could do the same thing with Camacho, right? It's just as believable if Camacho did it. For some reason, also, Solo Sikoa is always the lackey in his own faction. He's the leader, Jacob Fatu is better than him. He's the leader, he has to be saved immediately by Talatonga because he's not good enough himself. So, the match is going to go down in SummerSlam, and it's probably going to involve a lot of interference, and it's going to involve Solo Sikoa retaining by cheating, right? Which is stupid. I can't even believe that's even part of the proposition. But it is, and here we are. After this, we see a segment involving Julia and Zelina Vega. The philosophy here is Zelina Vega wants a title match, and Julia's there, and the whole point of this was to show that Julia is now with Kiana James, I believe her name is. She has that businesswoman gimmick. She was drafted 2 years ago in the draft, along with Ilya Dragunov, and neither of them has been seen since. Well, Ilya had a few matches that nobody cared about, but there you have it. I mean, it is what it is, right? I don't care about Kiana James. The fact is she was drafted to Raw a year ago and didn't make one appearance. So I completely forgot. I assumed she was fired. So here she is, motherfucks. For the 2 or 3 Kiana James fans in the world, you know what I mean? These motherfucks, there she is. You asked for her, there she is. After this, I should note at some point during the night, we had an Andrade and Rey Fenix vignette where they're hanging out by a car and they say they're money. Cool. That's never going to get over. Just stop trying right now. Andrade is never going to get anything over. Anyways, it's time for the match because during that segment they announced that it's going to be Andrade and Phoenix, versus the Wyatts for the tag team titles. Right? Perfectly fine match. It's interesting to see the Wyatts wrestling now a little bit more frequently than once every 8 months. They still suck ass, and quite frankly, it's just not very enjoyable, right? Like, it's just like they suck. The Wyatt family is just boring as shit. So this match is happening, and kudos to whoever is in charge of SmackDown for not waiting 7 weeks to do this. But then as the match continues, you realize why they couldn't wait 7 weeks, because this match was a complete waste of time. Like, the number one contendership match that led to this match was like 10 times longer. Basically, the match starts, and the entire story of the match here is that the Wyatt Six are just two like asinine jobbers. They get their asses beat quickly and thoroughly, and what happens is Andrade hits the message on Gacy, and as he pins Gacy, Nikki Cross comes up and pulls Andrade's legs, thereby causing a disqualification very early into the match. This leads to a scenario where all the tag teams one by one come out, and they're fighting everybody, including Rowan. At one point, Rowan takes out like 4 people. He takes out the Machine Guns and Fraxium. This is just one guy. This is one guy called Rowan who, like, let's think about this. Rowan, this is how shitty, like, just look at this using the transitive property. I believe the tag team champions at one point were Rowan and Luke Harper. I could be wrong, and maybe I'm thinking of somebody else, but I think they're the tag team that Braun Strowman beat with Nicholas. You know what I mean? I could be wrong, though. I'm trying to think about it. Whether, let's see here, whether Braun Strowman, I know that he beat a tag team like at WrestleMania. He was Nick, right? Nicholas. Braun Strowman and Nicholas beat what tag team? I just want to know, just because like Braun Strowman win it. Maybe it was no. I think it was. I didn't get a result here, but I think it was actually Cesaro and Sheamus. Even worse, honestly. But the point is, motherfucks. Let's just, for the sake of argument, assume that it was someone like that. It was actually better wrestlers, Cesaro and Sheamus. But basically, Eric Rowan was in a tag team with Luke Harper, and the tag team was like a mid-level tag team. And now the same Eric Rowan is taking out 2 tag teams by himself. Well, get the fuck out of here, right? This leads to Nick Aldis coming out and announcing TLC, motherfucks, at SummerSlam. Now, I will say that, I'm not going to be a complete hater like my name says, and I'm going to acknowledge that a proper TLC match, a good TLC match at SummerSlam is always welcome, motherfucks. Those matches cannot disappoint, right? And like, for better or for worse, the people that are there, like, they're going to be good at them. You know what I mean? You got like DIY, the Machine Guns, Montez, even Angelo Dawkins. Honestly, I could see him doing some crazy shit with ladders. You got a bunch of good teams in there, And even Dexter Loomis, like, he does some high-flying moves. Like, they'll do crazy shit because they're the Wyatts. Like, it's going to be a fun match, I'm sure. But the problem is the SmackDown Tag Team titles, as well as the Raw Tag Team titles, but definitely the SmackDown Tag Team titles, have been so completely abused that, like, the only time you see them is on SmackDown. So them all of a sudden being on pay-per-view, it feels surreal, right? When the WWE invented the TLC match, the tag team titles were a prominent championship, right? Meaning that they were considered very, very hot commodities to have the tag team titles. Nowadays, it's like a passing thought. Like, you forget who the tag team champions are. You know what I mean? Like, if the Wyatts don't show up for 2 weeks, and someone asks me who are the tag team champions, I'd be like, I don't know. Who the fuck cares? Like, if someone asks me that for real, I'd be like, who the fuck cares, bro? DIY. They're like, it's not DIY. Oh, it might as well be. Whereas back in the day, I knew like the tag team title like lineage. Anyways, this is a good addition to the card, but also let's consider the fact that the vast majority of people are jobbers. Now, one solace here that I think needs to be mentioned is that the Motor City Machine Guns are finally going to be in a TLC match. This is, for many, it was a dream come true. Obviously, you didn't expect them to wrestle these people, but there you have it, right? Another thing that I want to point out is that because everyone here is a jobber, it's like, to me, it's like, if it's not Montez Ford pulling the titles, right? That's the only way to save Montez Ford. Like, if fucking Joe Gacy pulls the titles, right? Or Gargano pulls the titles, then you might as well just fire Montez Ford now, because that theoretical singles push is never going to happen. If he wins the match by himself, you could make an argument, but I don't think it's going to happen. And the worst part of the night wasn't the brawl that ensued and Nick Aldis' announcement. It was the fact that this was the closing segment of the night. I couldn't believe it. You know what I mean? Like, at the very least, put Cody's promo after this. This should have been the opener because this was a screwy finish match that nobody cared about and led to an announcement. But anyways, here we are, motherfuckers. With that being said, the hater out in this bitch.